Hey guys, TrueGreen7 here, and a year ago I made a top 10 best Pokemon designs video. So I thought I would follow that up with a video all about what are, in my opinion, Pokemon with the worst designs. These Pokemon are just uncreative, unpleasing, illogical, lazy, or flat out unjustifiable. Understand that this list is purely my opinion, and I don't expect you to feel the same way I feel about these Pokemon. I even personally like a lot of the Pokemon on this list, but I had to take a look at them and say, hey, wait a minute, your design sucks. Note that this video isn't about ugly or derpy Pokemon because some Pokemon are intentionally ugly or look weird on purpose and have a large following. Plus, just because something looks weird doesn't mean that it's a bad design. That's actually pretty anti-art if you ask me. Especially since some of the unconventional looking Pokemon are misunderstood because they're based on history, mythology, and cryptozoology that not all Westerners are familiar with, like Dunsparce, Probopass, or Bronzor. But in the end, there are over 700 Pokemon, and it was actually pretty hard to come up with only 10 terribly designed Pokemon. I looked through the whole Pokedex, twice, so don't tell me I forgot any Pokemon. So without further delay, let's look at some bad looking Pokemon. Number 10. Ekans. I mean, the flaw with this Pokemon is obvious. It's just a snake. There wasn't an ounce of creativity. Ekans' design could have taken 3 minutes to plan if Ken Sugimori just looked at a rattlesnake, drew it, and decided to color it purple. But there's nothing wrong with the simplicity of the design. If that was the problem, I could have called out Rattata and Pidgey, but at least their design serves a purpose and actually deviates from the source. Rattata's proportions are nothing like a rat's, and it has added features that make it look more intimidating and battle-ready. Pidgey doesn't look exactly like any particular bird, and it looks smarter, cooler, and cuter than a real-life pigeon. Don't get me wrong, snakes are really cool too, and Ekans is appealing, so I can see why some would like it. But the problem is that it's not more appealing than a real-life snake, cause it has no additional features or abilities that real-life snakes don't have. And in my opinion, Ekans shouldn't pass for a well-designed Pokemon. Some real snakes look cooler than Ekans. It all boils down to the fact that if I were to show a Pokemon to a person that has never seen a Pokemon, I think Ekans would be my last choice, cause it's just a snake, nothing more. Pokemon themselves are supposed to make us want to live in the Pokemon world, and if every Pokemon was designed like Ekans, then the Pokemon world would just look like ours, but with brighter colored animals. While not the worst designed Pokemon, Ekans is one of the least creative. But purple and yellow are complementary colors, so at least they followed color theory, and I'm glad Ekans evolves into something better designed. Number 9. Slurpuff. Let's just say that I dislike Aromatisse 17 times more than I dislike Slurpuff. But in my opinion, Slurpuff's design is less inspired. Game Freak should already know that dessert-based Pokemon aren't the most popular of the bunch, so why in the distortion world would you make a Pokemon based on meringue? I get it, France. Swirlix is fine, nothing to complain about design-wise, but when it evolves, it literally keeps the same face and apparently loses the ability to fly, which is evolutionarily counterintuitive. You can like this Pokemon, I don't care if you use this Pokemon in battle, whatever tinkles your winkle I always say. I never say that. But the design just doesn't make sense. At least Vanillite and its family make sense evolutionary-wise. I could totally understand if a sentient icicle would take such a shape. But tell me, why would a dog-like animal evolve to look like meringue? It just makes no sense. Number 8. Tangela. Once again, Tangela is a Pokemon that I never had a problem with until I evaluated its preposterous design. I cannot say preposterous. Well, first, there is no indication that these blue scribbles are vines. Wait, why are they even blue? That's not a thing. Its shiny form is way better in my opinion, and not just because I'm obsessed with the color green. Another lazy and unrealistic design choice about some Pokemon is the fact that their true face is obscured and nobody knows what they really look like. That's just not possible. I'm pretty sure that at least one shady scientist would haul a dead Tangela into his lab and dissect it. Another uncreative thing about Tangela's design are its feet. They are red boots. And according to the fanbase, Tangrowth isn't well designed either. So Tangela has no escape from this tangled curse that is its body. Like if you cry every time. Number 7. Sunflora. What's the problem with Sunflora? Nothing, it's just a walking sunflower with a face. Nothing more, nothing less. Oh yeah, that's the problem! I'm not saying that this Pokemon isn't appealing, cause it is. It's just that people are too focused on picking the Pokemon they dislike when thinking about Pokemon that have bad designs, instead of listing Pokemon that actually have uncreative designs. People say that Maractus has a bad design without mentioning Sunflora. They're both just plants with faces. At least Maractus is a decent blend of maracas and cactus. You can say Geodude is just a rock with a face, but aren't a lot of rock-type Pokemon just a rock with a face? But at least they do something creatively. I mean, in real life, the fact is that some animals disguise themselves as rocks to help them survive. And Geodude takes that design trait and rolls with it. Roll. A sunflower with a face was already a thing before Pokemon came around. Just Google Happy Sunflower, or just look inside a preschool classroom. There it is! Number 6. Vanillux. First I want to tell you guys that I actually really like Vanillite. It's a very appealing Pokemon and it's really adorable. There is no reason to hate its existence. Vanillish's existence is also justified. If there's no problem with a rock with a face or a flower with a face, then why in the world can't there be an icicle with a face? And the fact that James Turner, the creator of the Vanillux line, had the creativity to give this icicle Pokemon an ice cream head made of snow is pretty fantastic. Remember that Vanillish isn't actually ice cream, and it's totally credible that such a Pokemon can evolve over a period of time to look like that. There is even minor evidence that this evolutionary line was actually the inspiration for ice cream in the Pokemon world and not vice versa. So if I personally think that Vanillite and Vanillish have such great designs, then why is Vanillux on this list? Because I said so. Number 5. Just kidding. I don't like Vanillux's design because it's basically the same exact thing as Vanillish, just with 2 heads and a wafer or chocolate straw. I get the inspiration, but after Vanillite evolves twice, this guy is practically a joke by now, and suffers from over-design. There is no reason to waste an evolution design by just adding an identically derpy head and a straw. The idea isn't bad, I just don't like how the fact that these evolutions are based on ice cream is driven in your face. Twice. Number 5. Mr. Mime. I've always liked Mr. Mime, but it doesn't look very good. Not at all. The problem is that Mr. Mime is just too humanoid. Human-like Pokemon must have a glaring distinction that make them qualified as a pocket monster. Other than its lack of a nose, there is no evidence that this isn't a human. It could totally just be some dude in a costume. And are those tumors? Should we be concerned? What about these balls? They just don't look natural. Nothing here works. It barely looks like a clown, it barely looks like a mime, and it barely looks like a Pokemon. God, I just got worked up over a Mr. Mime. Number 4. Klinklang. Now this Pokemon is one of 2 Pokemon on this list that I actually hate as a Pokemon as well. I don't think this Pokemon should exist. Now the whole evolutionary line is shameful, but it does make sense, I guess. They're just Pokemon that coexisted with humans and slowly evolved to look like gears so they could camouflage into their surroundings and hide in factories or clock towers and, I don't know, gear shops. A real-world example would be dogs, who are just wolves that slowly co-evolved with humans. Klefki is a good example of a fairy that co-evolved with humans and ended up looking like a key. While Klink and Klang have bad designs, Klinklang is on this list for a reason. They repeated the same bad design 3 times. The idea was okay, I wouldn't mind a gear-based Pokemon, but nobody asked for straight-up gears. That's just uncreative. I don't care if you put a ring on it. Nobody's gonna marry this, sister, because it's the most unappealing Pokemon in existence. It takes more than 1 ring to bind this, honey. That's a Lord of the Rings joke if you... I'll let myself out. Number 3. Dugtrio. Dugtrio is cool. I have nothing against it, but to be fair, it has a bad design. Diglett's design is based on a whack-a-mole, so its simplicity is actually pretty smart. But in my opinion, Dugtrio has the laziest evolution design of all time. It's literally 3 Diglets, and that's it. One does not simply stick 3 Pokemon together to make a new one. I know what you're thinking. Dodrio, Weezing, and Magneton suffer from the same flaw, but actually they don't. The theme of Kanto is genetics, and a mutation caused by pollution or radiation would result in growing an extra head. A Magneton is a magnet. I'm pretty sure magnets stick to other magnets. It's like the only thing they do. All the time. So Magneton makes sense. But moles? Yes, some moles do tend to huddle together, but how would 3 Digletts hanging out for dinner or something cause them to become a different species of Pokemon? It's not like when I hang out with my friends we just fuse together and become a different human. Who am I kidding? I don't have any friends. So you never know, maybe it is possible. I just haven't tried. Yet. Number 2. Simipour. I don't care if you like Simipour. This is my list and I hate Simipour only because of its design, so it's here to stay. Don't tell me what to do. If I think that this Pokemon looks stupider than Mr. Mime, you better bet that to me, it looks preposterous. I like the idea of representing the opinions to speak no evil, hear no evil, and see no evil, but I have to say that I think all 3 Elemental Monkey evolutions look kinda derpy. Simisage is cool, I guess, and Simisear is but I just can't accept Simipour. It looks too much like a cartoon. Like it actually can't exist in the Pokemon world because it physically looks too childish. Its droopy hair makes me forget that it's a monkey, the blue dress looks unnatural, and for some reason it's the only Pokemon that just doesn't look like a Pokemon to me. So let me just include it. Now hold up. I know half of you are furious by now, cause I probably mentioned a Pokemon you like. But I just want to address a few Pokemon that have misunderstood designs and for a good reason weren't included in this video. First off, none of the Pikachu clones are actually terribly designed. They're all pretty cute and that's the sole purpose of their existence, so technically their design is successful. That also goes for Luvdisc. It may be a minimalist design, but it sure is cute. Yeah, it's cute, right? Voltorb and Electrode are just Pokeballs, but Pokeballs are original designs, and the concept of these Pokemon is pretty creative for in-game mimics. Castform actually looks like a water molecule and is super cute. The Kami trio I actually dislike solely because they all look the same, but Thundurus and Tornadus are based on Raijin and Fujin, who both look the same and look very similar to their Pokemon counterparts. And I'm not even gonna talk about the complicated design and origin of Jynx. That can have a separate video. But Jynx is a dishonorable mention, alongside Electrode for being a lazy evolution, Amoonguss for making no sense, Luvdisc because even a 3rd grader can draw Luvdisc in under a minute, and Licky because I simply don't like how it looks. And number 1 is Muk. Not Garbodor. Listen, Garbodor actually has some form of creativity put into it. I know you think it's ugly, but guess what? That's the point. Just because a Pokemon is ugly and or unsettling doesn't mean its design is bad, especially if it's freaking intentional. Now to this Pokemon's credit, I actually love Muk. I never disliked it, but it truly is the laziest designed Pokemon. It's just a wider Grimer with different eyes. While Grimer avoided this list by looking intentionally annoying, blob monsters have existed in all forms of fiction for centuries, so Muk is nothing special. At all. I personally think they thought of something great to represent air pollution, but representing toxic waste by literally giving us toxic waste with eyes is not really creative. It's actually very lazy. Once again, I must state that it's not lazy because it's simple, it's lazy because it just took an existing concept and literally changed nothing about it. Ditto is a blob too, but that makes sense because it has unstable DNA allowing it to transform. After all, anybody can nitpick and say that any Pokemon they see has a bad design. Of course, please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you're already subscribed, please don't unsubscribe just because you disagree with me. After all, my sole purpose is to entertain you, not to agree with your opinion. Like this video if you want to see more, and if you want to see more right now, click on my top 10 beautiful Pokemon list, or top 10 handsomest Pokemon list. You can even follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or PokeAmino. I'll see you guys very soon. In the meantime, you can check out these videos over here.